I told myself I was just cold, that the gallery's air conditioning was too strong, designed to protect priceless paintings, not human feelings. That was why my hands were trembling slightly, why my shoulders felt stiff beneath the elegant dress I had borrowed for the night. Nothing more. Are you okay? Wesley asked quietly beside me. I'm fine, I replied too quickly. Just cold. He studied me, the way he always did when he knew I wasn't telling the full truth. You were talking to Colton. He came to talk to me, I said, carefully choosing my words. There's a difference. What did he say? For a second, I looked at Wesley and almost told him everything. The warning in Colton's voice, the satisfaction behind his smile, the subtle threat wrapped in polite words. I felt desperation rise in my chest, but I pushed it down. Nothing important, I said lightly. Just comments about art. Apparently, I don't understand minimalism. Wesley didn't believe me. I could see it in his eyes. But before he could push further, a gray-haired man approached us with an enthusiastic smile. Wesley, and this must be the famous Kayla. I heard you had a memorable honeymoon. Italy and Japan, wasn't it? My heart dropped. Yes, I forced a smile. Unforgettable. My niece is planning a similar trip, the man continued cheerfully. She would love some tips, especially about that inn in Florence you mentioned. What was the name again? Silenced, did I open my mouth. Closed it. Opened it again. Nothing came out, because there was no inn, there was no honeymoon, there was no Italy or Japan. There was only a lie we had created together, a story that had sounded convincing until this exact moment. Across the room, I saw Mallory watching me with predatory satisfaction. Colton stood beside her, lifting his glass slightly in a silent toast. The man smiled politely, still waiting. What was the name again? The silence stretched. 3 seconds. It felt like 3 hours. My mind froze, like an old computer trying to load too many files at once. I could feel the lie cracking, splintering, about to collapse in front of everyone. Then Wesley spoke. Villa Castellina, he said smoothly. On the outskirts of Florence. Small, discreet. Perfect for couples who want privacy. I turned to him in shock. The man's face brightened. Wonderful. I'll make a note of it. Ask for the room with a vineyard view. Wesley added naturally, yes. I jumped in, my heart racing. The breakfast was so good, I seriously considered moving there. Wesley smiled. She's exaggerating. The coffee was decent. The bread changed my life. I insisted. I dream about that bread. You dream about bread? Wesley asked. Don't you? I dream about financial reports. That explains a lot about you as a person. The man laughed, charmed. You too are adorable. Then he walked away. Only when he disappeared into the crowd did I finally breathe. Villa Castellina, I whispered. Does that actually exist? It does, Wesley replied. I've been there. And if he checks, he won't. And if he does, he'll find exactly what I described. Relief washed over me, followed immediately by irritation. You could have told me you had a mental database of Italian inns. You could have told me you invented an entire honeymoon without a backup plan, he countered. I was under pressure. So was I. For a brief second, we almost smiled, almost returned to the version of us that worked. Easy, cooperative, pretending. Then I remembered the words I had overheard days ago. Transaction. Temporary. Strategy. The almost smile died. I need some air, I said. I'll come later. I walked away before he could stop me. The balcony overlooked an inner garden, softly lit by lanterns. I leaned against the railing, breathing deeply, trying to calm the storm in my head. Footsteps approached behind me, and I didn't need to turn around. "Are you going to follow me all night?" I asked. "Yes," Wesley said. "Until you tell me what's going on." "Nothing is going on." "You're lying," he said quietly. "We both are. That's literally the foundation of our relationship." I closed my eyes, and for the first time since this all began, I realized something terrifying. The lie wasn't just about our marriage anymore, it was about us. The cool night air did nothing to calm the storm inside me. Wesley stood silently beside me, close enough that I could feel the warmth radiating off him, but far enough that I could pretend he wasn't. "Something changed," he said finally. His voice was steady, but there was a weight behind it I hadn't heard before. "You changed," I whispered, barely audible. "I want to understand why." He let out a frustrated sigh.
Why?
"To adjust the strategy." I blinked. "Strategy? What does that mean?" He ran a hand through his hair. "You heard the conversation on Saturday, didn't you?" I stiffened. "What conversation?" "The one with my lawyer. About this being temporary. That you're a transaction. That in a few weeks, I'd find a way to make you disappear." I felt the ground shift beneath me. My heart raced. Every lie, every fabricated story we'd shared suddenly felt like a minefield. "You didn't mean it," I said slowly. My voice trembled. "It was legal precaution, not me?" "Yes." He hesitated. "I was protecting both of us. Legal complications, liabilities, it wasn't about feelings." "Not about you. You were protecting yourself." "There's a difference," he replied. Exasperated, I stared at him, the lantern light casting shadows across his face. "What do you want me to say?" "The truth," he whispered. "For the first time." And then he said it. "I didn't expect you. When I asked you to pretend to be my wife, I expected someone easy to forget. Someone who would play the part and then leave. You're impossible to forget."
Impossible.
My chest tightened. I wanted to laugh, cry, and shout all at once. "You came into my life like a whirlwind," he continued. "You make jokes at inappropriate times. You question everything. You make me laugh when I'm not supposed to." That's scary," I admitted, though my lips quivered into a half-smile. "Yes. And I said those things to my lawyer because I didn't know what was real and what was acting anymore, and that scared me." I felt tears welling up. "You scared me too," I whispered, "because I stopped pretending first and realized you hadn't." "I did stop," he said softly. "I just didn't know how to tell you." The garden below was empty, lit by the golden glow of lanterns. Inside, the gallery hummed with conversations and laughter, oblivious to the storm that had just broken between us. "So, where does that leave us?" I asked, my voice barely steady. "I don't know," he admitted. "But I do know I don't want you to disappear. Even if I am an emotional complication," I thought. "Even after everything." Then his phone vibrated. He glanced at it, his face hardening. "What is it?" I asked. He didn't answer. He just turned the screen toward me at a message from Helena. "Urgent problem. Gossip site will publish a story in 30 minutes. Titled, 'The Truth About Wesley Grayson's Fake Wife.' Source: Colton Rains." I felt the floor disappear beneath me. 30 minutes? My voice shook. Wesley immediately started typing. "I'm calling legal. Maybe we can stop it. We have to try." I looked out over the garden, my mind racing. 23 minutes. That was all we had. "What do we do now?" I asked softly. He looked at me, uncertainty clear in his eyes. "I don't know. but whatever it is, you won't face it alone. And at that moment, I realized something. After weeks of pretending, strategizing, and hiding, we were finally facing a problem together, raw, unplanned, and terrifyingly real. The gallery felt smaller now, the chatter of the party like a distant hum. Every second that ticked by brought the story closer to exploding. Wesley was pacing, phone in hand, surrounded by the ghosts of all possible PR disasters. "I've tried every legal angle," he muttered, frustration in every word. "There's nothing we can do in 30 minutes. I stepped closer. "Then let's stop trying to fight it. Let's tell the story ourselves. Our story, before Colton does." He froze. "What do you mean?" Instead of being caught in a lie, I explained, "We admit we exaggerated the marriage story, but we tell the truth about us, about how we actually met, how all of this became real." He blinked at me. "You mean admit the fake marriage, but confirm a real relationship?" "Yes." My voice was steady, but my heart pounded. "We control the narrative before someone else twists it." Wesley studied me for a long moment. "You do that publicly?" I nodded. "I'm the only one who can. You're the billionaire, your words get filtered. Mine will feel honest." He hesitated. "It's risky. Extremely risky. Riskier than letting Colton control the story," I said. He drew a deep breath. "We need a journalist. Someone fast. Someone who values exclusives over gossip." I thought for a second. "Chloe Chun, operations director. Loves you. Her husband runs a news portal. They move fast." He considered it. "Perfect. Where are they?" "Near the bar," I said, grabbing his hand. "Let's go." We crossed the ballroom, weaving past Mallory and Colton. They looked confused, perhaps expecting fear. Instead, they got determination. Margaret spotted us immediately. "Kayla, Wesley, how good to see you." "Margaret," I said, urgency in my voice. "I need a favor."
Right now.
"It's urgent. Does this involve the blonde staring daggers at you?" she asked, smiling knowingly. "Partly," I admitted. "And the arrogant man beside her?" "Totally." Margaret chuckled. "I'll call David right now. He loves a good story." Wesley looked at me. "Are you sure about this?" "Yes," I said. "Better than standing around waiting for disaster." Minutes later, David Chin appeared on the screen. Curious eyes, ready for drama. "So, you're the mystery wife," he said. "Technically," I corrected. "I'm the not-so-mysterious girlfriend, and I need to talk to you." In 5 minutes, a gossip site will publish a story calling my relationship with Wesley fake. That our marriage never existed. That it was all a sham. David tilted his head. "Is that true?" "Partially," I said, taking a deep breath. "We aren't married. Never were. The honeymoon, the ceremony, all of it made up, but the relationship?
Real.
At least, it became real along the way." Wesley stepped into the frame beside me. "David, I know this is unusual. Kayla is telling the truth. We exaggerated for protection, not deception. But what we feel for each other isn't an exaggeration." David raised an eyebrow. "Wesley Grayson, admitting a mistake? That's newsworthy." I couldn't help a small smile. "Keep being humble. It's working." David laughed. "Are you two always like this?" "Like what?" "Funny, chaotic, real. We're a comedy couple," I said. "Just without a script and with real consequences." David nodded approvingly. "I need something more. Something that shows you're human." I thought for a second. The scrambled eggs. Wesley's eyes widened. Cale, no. I tried to teach him to cook, I said. He burned eggs in 3 minutes. Impossible, but he did it. And it's hilarious. It shows he's human. David laughed. Burned eggs?
Perfect.
Humans, not billionaires. I added a few more details. Wesley watching fungi documentaries, sleeping in a sweatshirt, admitting I had a better travel route because of wine. David nodded approvingly. The countdown ticked on. 10, 9, 8 minutes. David hit publish. The real story behind Washington's most talked about couple. The reaction was instant. Positive comments flooded in. Colton, identified as the source of the original leak, was being criticized. It worked, Wesley said, showing me the screen. It worked, I repeated, relief washing over me. Across the room, Mallory's face was red with anger. Colton tried to intervene but was intercepted by investors. The plan backfired spectacularly, I looked at Wesley. We just turned a cooking disaster into proof that we're real. He smiled. Humans are likable. Billionaires are suspicious. Difference noted. For the first time in weeks, we could breathe. The morning after the viral article, the city felt different. Phones buzzed constantly, notifications piling up like confetti from a parade. But for Kayla and Wesley, the tension had shifted from fear to relief. Wesley leaned back in the penthouse office chair, scrolling through messages. They love it. The burned egg story, the documentaries, the sweatshirt, it's all going viral. I laughed, leaning against the doorway.
See?
Humans are relatable. Billionaires are hilarious if they burn eggs. He shook his head. I'll never live this down. Good, I said, smiling. It's endearing. Across the city, Mallory tried to regain some control. She made appearances at high-profile events, whispered to reporters, and hinted that the couple's story was exaggerated. Every attempt failed. Public opinion had clearly shifted. People weren't buying manipulation. They were rooting for authenticity. She's persistent, Wesley muttered, glancing at a news feed highlighting Mallory's frustrated attempts. Sad, I said. But we don't need her in our lives. Colton's fate was more dramatic. The investors discovered his schemes, and within weeks, he was out of the company. Lawsuits? He filed a few, but none went anywhere. Public opinion wasn't on his side. Wesley smirked at a headline. He's vengeful. Unfair, I corrected. There's a difference. Life settled into a rhythm we hadn't anticipated. Wesley, the billionaire CEO, found time to learn something he'd avoided for years: cooking. Not expertly, but enough to make simple meals without setting off the smoke alarm. One evening, I returned home, tired from my new job at a nonprofit, and found him standing by the stove. This is pasta? I asked, genuinely impressed. Yes. I made it myself. Minimal YouTube supervision, he said, proud that I laughed. I'll take it to the grave that you learned to cook for me. He raised an eyebrow. After the eggs incident, you better. That was humiliating. Adorable, I corrected. Evenings were spent talking, not about strategy, not about PR, not about the fake wedding. About childhood, fears, dreams, and the small joys of life. He shared the loneliness of growing up in a world that watched his every move. I spoke of love, loss, and wanting to make a difference, even without a billionaire's resources. You've already made a difference, he said softly. Cheesy, I said. Practicing romance, he replied. We learned to navigate the world together, finding humor in chaos and strength in honesty. Arguments were inevitable. Small things like leaving clothes on the floor, bigger things like balancing public life and private desires, but the constant was our communication. We always talked, we always chose each other. A year after the chaos, we decided it was time to celebrate honestly. No grandeur, no exaggerated storylines, just love. The wedding was intimate. 50 guests in Wesley's Virginia estate garden, soft music, simple flowers, perfect sunset, Ranatata, maid of honor, cried but denied it. Allergies, she insisted. Our vows were personal, raw, and heartfelt, Wesley. A year ago, I asked you to pretend to be my wife. It was the smartest and most foolish decision. Smart because it led me to you, foolish because I thought I could keep it a strategy. You taught me that control isn't everything. That laughter matters. That burned eggs aren't the end of the world. And that loving someone means embracing the chaos. Kayla, a year ago, you appeared out of nowhere and asked me to pretend. My first reaction was, you're crazy. My second was, apparently, I'm crazy too. But between the first lie and the last truth, I fell in love with the man who burns eggs, who watches fungi documentaries, and who smiles when no one's watching. I promised to choose you every day for love, not strategy. The kiss afterward was secure, full of promise. Not the first kiss, but the kiss that sealed a year of chaos, love, and growth. After the ceremony, we watched the guests laugh and celebrate. I stepped aside, taking a moment to reflect. A year ago, I was alone, anxious, and unsure. Now I was married, not to a perfect man, but to someone real, someone who loved me fully. Wesley joined me quietly. Thinking about how strange life is? Yes, I said. 1 year ago, I was almost homeless. Now I'm married to a billionaire who can cook pasta. Life is strange. Do you regret it? He asked. Not for a second, I said, smiling. Neither do I, he replied, kissing me softly under the stars. The days after the wedding were quieter, but full of small discoveries. The city had seen the spectacle of the fake wedding turned real, and the media frenzy had calmed, leaving us to live life on our terms. Wesley and I returned to our routines, but now with a shared rhythm. Learning to live together, Wesley learned to cook. Not perfectly, but impressively enough to make dinner without disaster. Some nights it was pasta, others scrambled eggs, safely burned or not. I can't believe I'm married to someone who genuinely enjoys my cooking, he said one night, frowning as he stirred sauce. You mean burned eggs cooking? I teased. Hey, he protested, that was a learning experience.
We laughed.
The little domestic battles, who left clothes on the floor, who hogged the blankets, became part of our rhythm. We argued, we apologized, and we always found our way back to each other. Balancing privacy and public life, being in the public, I was no longer terrifying. Wesley had learned that showing vulnerability didn't weaken him, it humanized him. I learned that honesty, humor, and authenticity mattered more than perfection. Interviews were easier now. We could laugh, share small stories, and even poke fun at ourselves. The infamous burned eggs became a symbol of our genuine life together, proof that even billionaires have flaws. Giving back and personal growth. With Chloe Chen's help, I began working at a nonprofit focused on communication for social causes. It didn't pay as well as my previous job, but the work gave me purpose, pride, and independence. Wesley respected it. You don't have to work, he said once. I want to, I replied. I need to feel useful. And, he asked, and I love it, I said. And I love the way I can finally tell the story that matters, not the exaggerated headlines. Family and friends, we celebrated holidays, birthdays, and small victories together. Friends, family, and coworkers became part of our bubble of authenticity. The chaos of fake weddings, gossip, and sabotage felt distant, like a strange dream. Mallory and Colton faded from our lives. Their attempts to manipulate or disrupt us were ineffective. They left, replaced by those who truly mattered. Love in the small moments, Wesley, and I found joy in the everyday. Lazy mornings sipping coffee on the balcony, quiet evenings reading together, cooking dinner, while laughing at past disasters, talking late into the night about dreams, fears, and hopes. It was messy, imperfect, and real, and it was ours. The first anniversary 1 year after the chaotic events that brought us together. We celebrated quietly. No press, no scandal, just a small gathering in our garden. Friends laughed, we shared stories, and Wesley burned eggs intentionally just to see me roll my eyes. That I caught his hand. "This is what I love," I said. "Me too," he replied. "All of it." We kissed, holding each other close, knowing that love wasn't a strategy, a headline, or a lie. Love was the laughter, the mistakes, the late-night talks, and the unwavering choice to stay together. Life after pretense. The fake wedding had been a start, a necessity, a gamble. But the real story, the one that mattered, was what we built afterward. A life together filled with trust, honesty, humor, and affection. Even burned eggs became a cherished memory.